When you think about it, a credit card is just a simple piece of plastic. So why do so many of us find ourselves struggling with them, getting caught in this cycle of debt? Well, the answer isn't just about financial literacy. It's really about psychology. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how these simple tools are designed to work with our brains.
Okay, before we dive in, just a quick reminder, this is all for educational purposes. It isn't financial advice, and you should always double-check any details with official sources.
For a lot of people, the whole cycle of credit card trouble starts with something that seems really small, almost manageable, a single late payment. And then that one late payment leads to carrying a balance. And suddenly, that balance just seems to grow all by itself, thanks to interest.
And before you know it, that growing balance leads to a feeling of, constant financial stress. Let's take a closer look at why this pattern is so common.
So this really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Why is a tool that seems so simple, so incredibly difficult for so many people to manage? The answer has very little to do with how smart you are or how much self-control you have, and everything to do with how these cards interact with our natural human tendencies.
Let's start with the first key idea here, the spending illusion. This is all about how using a card is fundamentally different from using cash, and how that difference kind of tricks our brain.
I want you to just think about the physical act of paying. When you use cash, you physically hand something over. Your wallet actually gets lighter. Psychologists even have a name for this. They call it the pain of paying. But with a card, you just tap or swipe. Nothing tangible ever leaves your hand, which makes the whole transaction feel, abstract, almost frictionless. And this delay, the time between the swipe and when the bill actually arrives, that's where the danger is. It creates this powerful illusion that you're getting something right now without losing anything in the moment. That little psychological disconnect is really the first step in how misuse begins.
Now, to see how this actually works in the real world, let's walk through a simple example of how small, seemingly harmless purchases can add up over a month. It might start with something small and convenient, ordering food after a long day. It's just a few taps on a screen, a completely painless, frictionless purchase. Then, maybe a little online shopping, a few clicks here and there, and a package is on its way. Again, because there's no physical money changing hands, the purchase just feels minor.
And then, of course, you have the automatic subscriptions. These are designed to be set it and forget it, right? They just quietly charge the card in the background so you don't even have to make a decision each month.
So at the end of the month, the bill arrives, and all of a sudden, all of those small, painless transactions have added up to a really big, surprising number, like $1,800.
And this is the most important part to understand. Not a single one of those purchases felt like a problem at the time. The issue wasn't the individual transaction, it was the quiet, invisible way the total just grew. This is how debt starts to build, almost silently.
But it's not just about our own psychology. The credit card system itself has features built right into it, we can call them quiet traps, that are actually designed to encourage carrying a balance. The most powerful of these traps is without a doubt the minimum payment. It's presented as this helpful low-cost option, but what it's really doing is sending a dangerous psychological message. It says, hey, you've met your obligation, you're in good standing. This creates a totally false sense of security, making you feel like you've handled the bill when you've really just kicked the can down the road.
And this creates a really powerful cycle. You use the card, you make your purchases, when the bill comes, you pay the minimum, and you feel responsible for doing it. But then, high interest charges get added to the entire remaining balance, and that means next month you're starting with an even bigger debt. It's a cycle that's designed to be very, very hard to escape.
Another feature built into the system is rewards. Cashback, points, miles, these are all designed to make you feel like a savvy consumer, like you're beating the system. But their main psychological job is to distract you from the true cost of using the card, the interest.
Because in reality, for anyone who carries a balance, the value of those rewards is almost always dwarfed by the cost of the interest. A few dollars in cashback is, it's nothing compared to hundreds of dollars in interest payments. The math almost never works out in your favor.
So when we look at both our own psychology and the system's design, it's really important to reframe the problem. The issue isn't that the tool itself is flawed or that people are just irresponsible. The issue is a misunderstanding of how the tool is actually designed to work.
So, let's be really clear about what we are not saying here. We are not saying that credit cards are inherently bad.
or the people who struggle with them are careless. And we are definitely not saying that cards should be avoided entirely.
The key takeaway is really this. Credit cards are neutral financial tools. They're just tools. But we have to remember they are tools designed by institutions for profit, and their profitability often depends on users carrying a balance and paying interest. So to use them effectively, you have to have a clear understanding of that design.
And now it's easy to see why misuse becomes so normal, isn't it? It's kind of a perfect storm of factors. Spending feels painless, minimum payments feel safe, rewards feel beneficial, and all the while, the debt is just growing silently in the background.
And all of this leaves us with one final, crucial idea. Unlike touching a hot stove, credit cards don't give you instant feedback. They don't punish you instantly, they punish you slowly. And understanding that delay, that's the first and most critical step toward using them wisely.